Good
Okay.
evening, everyone. Welcome to our this seminar, which is on the helicopter safety, with our chief guest and speaker, Mr. P.S. Ganapathy sir. Before going forward, I would like to request our chairman, Mr. Vivek Kulkarni, to
Joshi ji, namaskar.
start this event.
Good evening to
Can
you
you hear
all.
me?
Good evening to all the distinguished guests, aviation professions, members of
All
the
well?
aviation
I'm not able
industry,
to hear. आपका अभी muting है आगे.
ASI members, students, and participants joining us from across the country. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So on
Yes,
behalf,
sir, you're all audible. Yes,
on
yes, sir.
behalf of the Air Service of India Mumbai branch, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to today's online lecture on helicopter safety. Safety has always been the cornerstone of aviation. In the helicopter industry, where operations are often carried out in challenging environments such as offshore platforms, mountainous terrains, emergency medical services, disaster relief, and VIP transportation. Maintaining the highest standards of safety is a paramount of importance. Continuous learning, sharing of operational experience, and adopting global best practices are essential for enhancing safety and operational excellence. The Aeronautical Society of India Mumbai branch remains committed to promoting technical knowledge, professional development, and a strong safety culture with the aviation community. Today's lecture is another step towards achieving the objective by bringing together experts and professions to exchange valuable knowledge. We are deeply honored to have with us our distinguished speaker, Mr. P.S. Ganapathy, Fellow of ASI and Senior Aviation Consultant. Mr. Ganapathy brings decades of rich experience in helicopter operations, aviation safety, and regulatory matters. So, big round of applause for that. So, I am confident that his insights will greatly benefit all participants and contribute to strengthen our understanding of helicopter safety. We are equally privileged to have Mr. Patak Waghela, Deputy Director Air Safety, DGCA Western Region with us today. His opening remarks will provide valuable perspectives on the importance of safety, regulatory, compliance, and continuous improvement within the helicopter sector. We sincerely thank him for taking time from his busy schedule to join us and share his thoughts. I would also like to express my gratitude to all the members, participants, and the organizing team of the ASI Mumbai branch for their wholehearted support in making this program possible. I encourage everyone to actively participate in this session, listen attentively, and full use of the opportunity to interact with our esteemed speaker during the question and answer session. With these words, I once again extend a warm welcome to each one of you. I wish the program great success and enriching learning experience from all. Thank you and Jai Hind. I now welcome Mr. Patak Waghela, Deputy Director Air Safety DGCA Western Region, to give his opening remarks. Over to you, sir. Waghela, sir.
For giving me the opportunity and the platform to interact with the industry colleagues. Thank you, Ganapathy sir, and ASI for organizing this online lecture. As we are discussing on the helicopter safety, we all know the helicopters are a vital part of our aviation industry. They operate from the places where the fixed wings cannot operate, and there are versatilities in the helicopter operations like they operate in offshore, they operate in hilly regions, they conduct VVIP operations and remote locations, transportations. All these operations are being conducted by the helicopter, but I feel the only by regulation and by the enforcement, this motto is not going to be fulfilled. The participation from the industry is also expected, and not only by the going by the rules, but by developing the safety culture by the pilots, by the engineers, by the operators, management, and other employees also. So, gone are the times where we are flying, we are going by the rule book, we are following the safety aspects by only following rule based safety. Now, the time has advanced, and it is the time where we have to think about proactive safety. We have to think about how proactively we can identify and we can manage the safety by by developing a good safety culture and just culture, fearless reporting culture. So the participation from the not only from the pilots and engineers, but the all stakeholders of the industry, including the management, also plays a vital role here. And I expect that they will be in line with the just culture, and they will also not follow the safety practices only on paper, because we have seen when we go for surveillances and other things, many of the aspects and the requirements of a prevention activities and other things, they are there very well maintained on the paper, but to what extent it is actually being followed in practice is under the question. So we don't want that the practices are only laid down on the paper for the sake of complying with the regulation, or for the sake of what DGCA is required to do. As per DGCA, what is required to do. Rather, the industry should on their own develop and encourage the safety culture and the best safety practices, so as to identify the risk and manage the risk because any adversity happens. Right. So my argue is to with the all operators and the probably I don't know if the management are also there attending this lecture, decide whether to no go in case of any adversity. We don't know from the what is the on ground situation, because from the recent past of helicopter incidents and accidents in India and the globally also, it has indicated that majority of the accidents are CFRT because of the human factor, because of the weather development, spatial disorientation, or the maintenance errors. So in this scenario, are we actually encouraging our pilots to decide? Are we giving the pilots to have a freedom or a choice to no go if in case of any adverse situation exists? After giving enough resources and time, for the aim is to maintain the helicopters, because we have to now see that and actually commercial interests are taken over the safety, or safety has to be given that importance over the commercial interests. So I hope these challenges are there, and the this particular lecture will cover all these addresses, will cover all these challenges, and probably will indicate the uh, probable and practicable solutions, so that these occurrences can be better engagement with respect to aviation safety. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your delighted words. Now, eagerly waiting for Mr. Ganapathy sir to go ahead with the first online lecture series. This we started with the Ganapathy sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Shall we start?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir. We are eagerly waiting for your lecture, sir.
It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to address the gathering of professionals who represent the backbone of Indian helicopter industry. We come together united by a common purpose, that is preservation of life and the enhancement of safety. Today, with the onset of southwest monsoon, our mission becomes more significant. Helicopter operations are among the most demanding and unforgiving forms of aviation. Whether operating offshore over the Arabian Sea, transporting personnel to remote locations, conducting emergency medical services, or supporting critical infrastructure, we work in environment where there is little margin of error. Environments, despite the technological advances and regulatory improvements, one truth remains unchanged. Most accidents are not caused by single catastrophic failure. They are preceded by warning signs, small deviations, and opportunities to intervene. Every accident represents more than statistics. Behind every occurrence, there are families, colleagues, dreams interrupted, and lives forever changed. Therefore, safety is not about compliance alone. Safety is about caring. Safety is about professionalism. Safety is about responsibility to one another. Our theme today, helicopter safety, represented by 16 principles, which together form a roadmap towards our vision of achieving 50% reduction of incidents and accidents during 2026. With this introduction, I will start my presentation. As I told you, the mission is 50% reduction in accidents. Let us not worry about the figures that were taken from the Google. Therefore, it may not be exactly correct. Last 2025, it indicated 77 accidents, major one. Therefore, I set the parameter to 2026 as 50% reduction in the number of accidents that we had, even though our aspiration objective will be completely zero accidents. Normally, accidents are measured at the rate. These statistics also I have taken from the Google. United States has got 0.35 to 0.45 accidents per 10,000 hours. United Kingdom is 0.12 to 0.14 per 10,000 hours. Whereas in India, it shows the figure is 0.53, which is 3 times more than the UK figure. Therefore, the mission to achieve our 50% is 0.26, that is 50% reduction in the rate. Every accident is preventable, every life is precious. Now, we are here today. What are the challenges to achieve this target? It is already explained by our Deputy Director very briefly. Weather, especially now monsoon in particular. Then CFIT threats. This is the maximum accidents are happening due to CFIT. Third, offshore challenges in the special operations. Fourth, pressure to complete missions. This is the way where we have to cultivate a culture of called no-go culture. If you feel unsafe, you are permitted to say no, and no punitive action will be taken if you say no for safety reasons. Therefore, this is one of the important measures. Then the human factors, which is also touched upon by our president, our deputy director. Then weather deterioration. There's a lot of terms when weather deterioration, what you are supposed to do. Last one is fatigue. Fatigue
Hello.
affects everybody. Fatigue is also
But
caused that we have to learn, take adequate measures to reduce the human error as low as possible. That's why we are always referred to Swiss cheese module. There are four important reasons why the human error taking place. Number one is organizational influences, unsafe supervisions, preconditions for unsafe acts. These are all called latent failure. Organization is responsible for this. Unsafe acts are committed by the flight crew or maintenance crew, deliberately, errors or violations. That is called active failure. We have each, there are four defenses are available. If the defenses are not applied properly, hazard passes through the holes and leads to accident. What are the resources? Technology, training, and regulations, and the resources, manpower, and the equipment, whatever it is. All these four important. So that you will see that 1230 doesn't also one has to address in the human factor training. Once you address these issues, you will be able to reduce the human error as low as practically possible. Now, while discussing, we always discuss about Heinrich's safety pyramid. What he says is that 3,000 unsafe act behaviors and conditions in the lower pyramid, and we address the 301, the top one can be reduced. This was taken on 1931 by one of the safety specialists. Later on in 1966, they updated it. They came to 1 into 600 rule. What that says is, Gerard argued that fixing the vast number of near misses and the minor things, we will be able to reduce the top level. That is the principle under which this Henry's safety pyramid was. Therefore, the model highlights individuals are causing unsafe acts, and also the working conditions of the organization are not at the comfortable level. Once you address these two things, you will be able to reduce the human error as low as possible. Vision 2026, what I have told, zero complacency, zero shortcuts, no normalization of deviance. You have to follow the SOP, no normalization of deviance, and safety first always principle. Now I am going to set the 16 guidelines, which is the primary purpose of this presentation. What are the 16 guidelines that I have prepared? Number one is helicopter. I have used the anagram helicopter and safety anagram 60. First one is the hazard identification. Second one is the error management. Third one is leadership and commitment. Each one of them we will discuss shortly, about 30 seconds or 1 minute. Fourth one is information sharing. Next is compliance with SOPs and rules. Operational risk assessment. This is very primarily important because of the safety management system. Before the flight undertaking, we have to have an operational risk whether the task that we are taking is comfortable on an average green level. Professional competence. Professionalism very, very important. Professionalism is doing the correct thing when no one is watching. Then training and retraining. There is no substitute for training and retraining in aviation. Next is environmental awareness, very, very important. Situational awareness. Then reporting culture. Allow the people to report anything unsafe. That is called the safety culture. Then coming back, situational awareness. Then aircraft serviceability is also one of the important things. Then fatigue management, emergency preparedness, teamwork and communication. Last is year-bound vigilance. Safety is a continuous journey. It is not seasonal. Therefore, year-bound, these are my 16 guidelines. Let us first take what are the hazards in the helicopter? Major hazards in the helicopter operations are 5-star I have given the weather hazards, terrain and obstacles, human factors hazards, then operational pressure hazards. They are all very high. Loss of situational awareness. These are classified as 5-star hazards, very high consequence. The next one, wire strike hazards, which is high, mechanical and maintenance hazards, fatigue hazards, then fuel management hazards, that is medium, inadequate operational control, the flight operations office, last but not least, landing zone hazards. Then wildlife hazard, bird strike hazard. These are the 12 hazards which we have to address if we want to avoid accidents or reduce the human error as far as possible. Because if you do not manage the hazards, the consequences of the hazards will be CFIT, loss of control, mechanical failure, hard landing or unarmed landing, that is peculiarly for helicopter operation, mid-air collision, fuel exhaustion, and ground handling incident. These are all the main things which will happen with the hazard. Therefore, we must understand the source, where is the source of this hazard, and accordingly, what is the potential outcome. Then only they will be able to take a decision whether to continue the flight or not. The weather hazards, I don't have to agree, low visibility, and most VFR to IMC, that inadvertent instrumental condition, when you are on a VFR flight, 75% of all weather-related accidents are attributable to that. Fog, rain, and whiteout and brownout is most hazardous one for the weather hazards, because your visibility will be loss, and the outcome is loss of control and CFI. Next one, terrain and obstacle have mountainous sand, valleys, power lines, cables, constructions, towers, masts, trees and buildings, potential again CFI. If you see, most of the hazards lead to then human factors, that is fatigue, stress, complacency, and most importantly, get there it is, external pressure that I have to. Next one is mechanical. This is maintenance completely, the helicopter maintenance, engine failures, gearbox problems, tail rotor malfunctions, improper maintenance, FOD, full control deficiencies, and the potential outcome is forced landing and then loss of control. When you come to the fuel management, fuel starvation, fuel contamination, inadequate reserves, engine failure, and forced landing is the potential outcome. The next one is the fatigue hazards, particularly during pilgrimage operations, offshore operation, repetitive sectors continuously going up and down. Fatigue is one of the hazards, and potential reduced performance and decision-making capability comes down. Then inadequate operational control, flight dispatch or flight operation center is not able to provide vital information at the right time. Lack of flight following, poor pilot doesn't get the proper briefing, weather briefing, no dispatch support. These are also to be addressed. Delayed position, increased exposure to hazards. Then one, landing zone hazards, confined areas, dust and snow, brownout and whiteout. That is important criteria that we have to know. Because of the dust, again it comes, your visibility will become down, you lose the visual depth. Then FOD, sloping terrain, dynamic rollover and hard landing. The last one is Wildlife hazards, bird strike, animal intrusion, is called engine intrusion, damage to rotor blades, damage to stabilizer, loss of control, forced landing. These are only 12 major hazards. The outcome is given. Therefore, we need to see such hazards do not come into the place when we are operating the flight. Major hazards we are going to discuss. We already discussed about CFIT, adverse weather, inadequate terrain clearance. Pressure to continue the flight is one of the main reasons for the CFIT. That is why land and leave policy has been developed in 2014. Poor decision making, then fatigue, inadequate mountain terrain, and communication deficiency. These are all the main things. Once we address these issues, we will be able to eliminate completely controlled flight into terrain accidents. My simple formula, simply avoid CFIT to enhance flight safety. Avoid complacency, fatigue, indiscipline, and tunnel vision. What are those things? We will just see it. Complacency means nothing. Pilot has done, or I have done 100 times this flight. Therefore, there is no need. This kind of feeling leads to drop in active monitoring. They stop cross-checking and missing the early warning signs and closing when you closing the train. Therefore, complacency is very dangerous. Every day you have to follow the checklist and the SOP. Fatigue, the performance degrades if you are fatigued. If you don't adjust, performance degradation comes. Therefore, your decision making company and reaction time becomes very, very slow. Therefore, it affects your performance, and also you take more seconds too long to process it and react. Indiscipline means using shortcuts, not following the SOP, and busting the minimum descent altitude or just to get a look at it. CFID accidents are heavily populated by flights where deviation from the external procedures are occurred. Therefore, remember, indiscipline means primarily not following the SOP and using shortcuts. Tunnel vision is something that pilots need to address. When something goes wrong, you're concentrating on that particular issue, leaving the rest of the things as it is. The pilot can become so hyper focused on one problem so that he loses the big picture. They get sucked into the cockpit and completely lose track of where the aircraft is ready to the ground. Therefore, tunnel vision needs to be addressed. Mitigating countermeasure for that, complacency, trust every flight is a first flight or a new flight. They actively verify automation. You can trust the machine, but verify, please, because that is the primary way you can avoid complacency. And fatigue, use the robust I am safe checklist. Everybody is supposed to, we will check that later on. I am safe checklist before the flight and utilize strategic in-flight boundaries, establish duty time limitations and all this. Maintain a sterile cockpit culture. Nobody is allowed to talk below the when you're doing the takeoff and landing. Observe the philosophy of concentrating only on the flight-related events, not in anything else. Last one is if task is saturated, prioritize one and delegate to the others in that order. Delegate and the multi-crew environment. That is the way you can avoid. Offshore, offshore helicopter flights operate in a demanding environment such as mechanical stress, sea clutter, and limited visibility. Every safety certificate, that is helicopter under egress training and helicopter landing officer, helicopter landing assistant. Every safety certificate is a safety tool for you as it provides a defensive layer when you are flying offshore. Then environmental and weather challenges are there. Rapidly changing weather, therefore flying in the thunderstorm is always prohibited. And loss of visible reference can happen. Flying over vast, featureless bodies of water, especially at night or in low visibility IMC conditions, can slip pilots of spatial orientation. That is very, very dangerous, dramatically increasing the risk of accident. Last one, sea state and water survival. In the event of forced ditching, cold water temperature, rough seas, and rapid immersion create severe risk of drowning and hypothermia. That is very because the temperature goes down, you become uncomfortable. That is hypothermia below 97 degrees. Then takeoff and landing, helideck hazards, platforms pose tight constraints, meaning main or tail rotor sites with surrounding equipment or cranes are a constant operational risk. Then turbulence and downdraft. And last is deck motion. Floating production storage and offloading vessels are rich that heavy and pitched with ocean swells make touchdowns increasingly demanding. The last one is the mechanical and the human factors. Control the flight into terrain, navigation misjudgments, or disorientation near the sea level can send the aircraft straight into the unseen platform structures. Then harsh operating environment, salt stay, high humidity, and remote conditions accelerate mechanical wear on critical components, requiring rigorous surveillance to health and usage monitoring system to determine the fatigue of the parts so that you can mitigate the catastrophic consequences. Therefore, this is the offshore. Next is the error management, which is a simple one. We are all human. Human is tend to make errors. But the purpose of this training of human factors is reduce the human errors as low as possible. Achieving 50% of reduction requires safety management system approach, focusing on threats which leads to errors and also organizational differences, which we already seen. Therefore, adopting the following will help you. CFIT professional, mandate the helicopter terrain awareness warning system, and database must be updated every 25 days. And strict stabilized approach criteria. Please follow the stabilized criteria without any kind of hesitation. Go around is a normal procedure, standard operating procedure and no continuation below minima without the required installation. Scenario based simulator training and flight data monitoring are the most important thing for the CFFT prevention. Then weather risk management. Establish a no culture. Pilots must feel empowered to decline missions. The authority must be given to the pilots to decline the missions if the weather deteriorates, weather is expected to be very marginal and very critical. Establish land and leave philosophy. Landing shot is always preferred. Landing shot means when the condition are deteriorating, you can break before going to alternate or go to a suitable place where you can land comfortably. Offshore helicopter operation, standardize the heliport and rig procedures. Uniform deck marking should be there. Improved lighting systems and also wind indication devices. Use health usage monitoring system to predict failures before they become accidents. Night offshore operation is mandatory for wearing the night vision goggles, autopilot, and coupled approaches. Lastly, pilgrimage flight safety, Chardham, Amarnath, Vaishnava Devi, etc. Introduce for these kind of operations, special operations, introduce a daily risk assessment matrix, wherein you will check pilots, whether his experience, whether he has gone to that place, and what is his capability. Then, how is the weather? Can he manage? Then the aircraft is fully serviceable or any MEL is there, and then what are the other operation factors? If we find the cumulative risk exceeds the threshold, stop operation. Limit the number of helicopter movements per hour. Dedicated methodological units. Mountain flying training should be, recurrent training should be given at least 6 months. Safety culture transformation. Move from mission completion to mission success. You have to, just because I am going to complete, don't go. Mission success is the important thing. Encourage non-punitive reporting. Then only you will be able to get the more data. Use all available technology enablers and avoid detritus and the human factors. Then you will be able to reduce errors. Then we coming, this is the land and leave policy. Land and leave policy doctrine industry safety campaign launched in the Vertical Aviation International in 2014. It encourages the helicopter pilots to make precautionary off-airport landings whenever developing hazards such as deteriorating weather, mechanical issues, or disorientation that jeopardize the flight safety rather than attempting to push through and risking an accident. And global regulatory authorities, including the DGCA, heavily endorse the philosophy behind this and actively promote this campaign via safety briefings. This emphasizes survival takes precedence over mission completion. Most importantly, this act does not demonstrate pilots' weakness. On the other hand, pilots exercise a sound judgment with professional integrity. Therefore, adopt land and live doctrine whenever situation demands. This doctrine has contributed to 30% of helicopter accidents globally during the period 2014 to 2019. This is statistics. Simple example, whether I told you whether risk, how do, this is I have just made for one airline. This can be, sorry, one helicopter organization that can be changed. Visibility, green, greater than 5 kilometers, 3 to 5 amber, red, less than 3 kilometers. Feeling, similarly wind, convective activity, and pilot's fatigue, low, medium, and high. Once if you find the situation is coming into amber, put additional measures, take this accountable manager's approval or chief pilot approval, then you will be able to proceed. This kind of weather assessment, risk assessment module will help you to avoid accident or incidents. Manage errors, play organizational process, or identify the latent conditions, and put defenses, contain the active failures, and improve the workplace conditions. That's one of the important things in the organization is workplace conditions should be conducive to the people who are working in the organization. So for the flight crew, particularly for the error management, trust your instruments. Respect the weather. I'm not reading everything. Thirdly, maintain situational awareness. Enforce sterile cockpit. Own your own fleet. Thoroughly check fuel. Professional man, if you are given 1 hour flight duty time, reporting time is 1 hour. Many times pilots come with an half an hour also. No, professional man will come exact reporting time and check the pre-flight whether everything is okay. That is called professionalism. Coming on time and going on time. Then pick up immediately. Empower any crew member. You need most crew member. 500 hours of experience. The commander is having 5,000, but allow the crew. You remember also talk. It's called assertiveness. Once you follow these rules, provide the safety equipment, manpower, what is required, so that resources is one of the management and the leadership. Lastly, walk the talk. All the management manual says everything in the safety policy, but when the question of actual thing comes, the resources do not match the commitment that is given in the safety policy. Therefore, walk the talk should be visibly seen by all the employees. Implement to safety performance. That is the way we will be able to achieve. Information sharing is a very simple one because aviation is a combined effort of everybody. Not only pilot, not only engineer, ATC, but everybody is involved. Methodology provides weather data. ATC provides manage the airspace. Pilots execute flights, and engineers maintain airworthiness. Collaborating breaks down operational skills. Individually working is not here. In like vertex ring site or engine overlimit risks to ensure safe helicopter operation between pilots, engineers, dispatch, and all this. I've just given on a practical example. Transparent communication transforms raw data into life-saving operational wisdom. For example, a critical medevac flight is scheduled to an offshore rig in rapidly deteriorating visibility and high winds. But the meteorological office provides the crew with the real-time updates showing an unexpected inversion layer fog moving over the platform. They immediately give you the priority. The pilot combines the net forecast with a drone visual cue and decides that flying below the minimum safe altitude poses a high risk of patient disorientation. They rig up to only flight path during that period for that to achieve. Last one is engineer feedback. Post flight, upon landing, the pilot notes extreme turbulence and heavy vibration. They share the data immediately with the engineering team. Engineers pull data from the rotor monitoring system, inspect blades for micro stresses, and aircraft to prevent catastrophe under this condition. Example, unstable approaches and weather drivers. Nextly, SOP makes a standardization so that all crew are knowing what is their duty and the standard callouts will be followed. It's a shared mental model because each one will be doing the same thing what is from the SOP. Third one is sterile cockpit and threat awareness, inspiring crews during training to protect their attention by respecting the sterile cockpit during critical cases of flight. Once you do all this very important rules, you will be able to achieve compliance of SOPs. Operational risk assessment. This elevates helicopter safety by systematically identifying flight hazards and calculating the cumulative probability and severity, establishing mitigating barriers before engine start. It also prevents compounding minor risk into critical ones. How important ORA, that is Operation Risk Assessment, operators implement ORA dramatically, dynamically as a part of structured safety management system via three core processes. One is pre-flight risk assessment. Please carry out the pre-assessment like weather, pilot, duty time, and landing zone unfamiliarity. Next one is mitigation application. If you find the severity is very high, reduce the severity to acceptable level. If your cumulative scores cross the predefined thresholds, entering the yellow caution zone, mandating risk controls such as adding an experienced crew member or diverting around marginal weather or bringing auxiliary fuel. Acceptance of or no-go decision, ensuring the accountable manager or piloting command formally signs off the operational benefits outweigh the mitigated risks. That is acceptance or no-go decision. The other recommended ORA is a PAVE model. That means pilot, aircraft, environment, external pressure. You check all these four things before everybody flight. Then what we talk about, everybody uses the am I fit? Am I suffering from illness? Have I taken any medicine or that is not applicable that will create some kind of lack of concentration? Then have you stressed or have you taken alcohol at what time? Then fatigue. If you test all these five, you will answer your question that you're fit, that you are fulfilling all the things and assuring your state. This is normally used in the aviation as I am safe checklist. Practical example, a helicopter emergency medical service must land in an unlit, unprepared field area never seen from the air at night to pick up an injured patient. Results identified, lack of cultural lighting and night vision degradation. That means unpopulated area, there is no man-made where lights are available. Okay, that is called cultural lighting and unknown ground obstacles. Then human factors, pilot fatigue, and debris being blown by rotor wash into nearby structures. These are all the hazards identified. The next step in the SMS is what are the mitigation, risk evaluation. You are evaluating the risk to be moderate to high risk level. Probability of a wire strike or rollover on uneven ground increases due to environmental and human compounding factors. Mitigation, you apply the mitigation. Require the ground team first responders to clear the landing zone loose of debris. Ask the landing controller. Mandate the ground staff use vehicle hand lights strictly positioned away from the direct line of sight to avoid blinding or night vision imaging system. Establish precise ground-to-air communication. The pilot execute steep stabilized approach. This is the example of unprepared off-site landing with the risk assessment. Seven is a professional competence. Professional competence is very, very important to achieve real helicopter safety. Professional competency elevates helicopter operation by replacing the reactive reaction. After the things happen, we all react. You need proactiveness, standardized decision making, precision handling. It ensures flight crews systematically mitigate the extreme risks native to rotorcraft flight, power margin, and wide strikes. ICAO and ESA core that are the six competency parameters that determine the professional competency. Application of knowledge, very, very important. And go through all the manuals, update your knowledge. Number two, application of procedures following the SOP. Third, communication, exchanging precise communication using appropriate phraseology and closed loop communication. Once the communication is sent, it must be acknowledged. Then, flight path management manual, FEM. Then, flight path management automation. And thirdly, leadership and teamwork, directing actions. And lastly, problem solving and decision making, situational awareness, workload management. These are all the things that ICAO has recommended. These are also explored. These are the core competency parameters for a professional company. Real world, the medical evacuation helicopter needs to lift off from a confined high altitude zone on a hot summer day. Low competency, the pilot relies purely on past experience, guessing that it worked last time. This they miss how severely the hot thin air reduces main rotor efficiency and engine power. They risk a hard landing or an inability to clear obstacles upon departure. High competencies, a professionally competent crew applies formal knowledge to perform a precise power check and load calculation using current performance charts and weight limitation. They recognize the power is not sufficient, proactively offload non-essential fuel and gear and adjust the departure angle and wait for the temperature to drop. Their rigorous training and disciplined application prevent an inevitable accident. So, training and retraining, what you do not, what you don't practice can cost. That's important. Therefore, train continuously and retrain relentlessly. And in helicopter, particularly some part of training is very, very important. Training is critical. The absolute cornerstones of helicopter flight safety. What are the training that you have? Perishable skills, emergency aggression and firefighting reflexes degrade rapidly and must be repressed regularly, typically every 1 to 4 years, depending upon the certification or the organization manual. Dynamic environment, offshore weather, helideck movements, and aviation technology constantly evolve, requiring current training to maintain competence. Then human factors and CRM is very, very important. Then these are all the helicopter training types. That is helicopter underwater escape training, helicopter landing officer, helicopter landing assistant, offshore emergency helideck team member. These are all specialist training which will help the evacuation very, very quickly. Then pilot preparation and simulator training. Therefore, very, very important for this. Next is the environmental awareness. Environmental awareness is critical for helicopter safety as rotor aircraft frequently operate at low altitudes in close proximity to terrain, obstacles, and dynamic weather. Maintaining real-time situational awareness prevents controlled flight into terrain and spatial disorientation. What are the key environmental parameters? As usual, visibility and weather, presence of low clouds, fog, everything, wind and turbulence, and terrain obstacles and surface conditions, unimproved landing zones, susceptible to loose debris during snow, causing whiteout and brownout, reducing the visibility, as well as deck motion to offshore highway. Remember, no-go is a professional decision. When your environmental awareness prevents the safety to downgrade you, remember, no-go is a professional decision. You can always delay the flight or cancel the flight depending upon the gravity of the situation. Operators must rely heavily on continuing the risk assessment tools. Pilots undergo rigorous scenario-based training to build proficiency in hazardous environments. This is one of the important things in the majority of the accidents are also happening in helicopter. A visual flight proves helicopter is flying low level through a river valley on a marginal weather day. The pilot fails to recognize environmental cues such as lowering cloud ceilings and raising humidity parameters and continues into an area where fog rapidly closes the valley. Deprived of visual references, pilots patients leading loss of aircraft control or collision with terrain before they can transition to self-empowered flight. Therefore, IAMC is one of the dangerous one need to be aware of this. Reporting culture is already emphasizing the safety performance, safety management manual. Allow a robust report. Freely reporting should be available. The forms should be digitalized and freely available to the people. Why they are saying this proactive hazard identification prevents up to 30% of the incident. Most important thing is event occurs, conference report submitted, safety department review and risk assessment. Correct? The most important in the reporting culture is you must give the feedback to the person who reported it. If the feedback is not given, the system fails immediately. Nobody will report anymore because I am not getting any response. Therefore, very, very important is the feedback given to the people who report. Just culture is the now, as I already explained to you, you can fearlessly report anything to the safety department and the maintenance department. Voluntary reporting, learning culture. We don't want to adopt a no blame culture. Example, a pilot operating an offshore transport helicopter notices an unexpected subtle vibration in the tail rotor during the routine transit, which disappears upon landing. Reaction. Operating under a non-punitive dust culture, the pilot flies a confidential report via their aviation management system rather than staying silent. Though incident or nothing happened, is still import that is called the positive dust culture. Resolution. Maintenance engineers inspect the tail rotor assembly and discover a microscopic fatigue crack in the gear sitting a pre inspection miss. The outcome, the fleet is grounded for immediate inspection, preventing a catastrophic in-flight, showing how open reporting drives proactive risk mitigation. Therefore, reporting culture should be encouraged in the organization. Last, Levanutha, situational awareness. System knowledge is very, very important to effective situational awareness. This is nothing but it has got a three elements. One is you must have the ability to perceive and then comprehend what is the meaning of that what you have perceived and project what will happen if you follow this kind of decision. That is called perceive, comprehend, decision. Parameters to maintaining situational awareness requires a big picture across three levels. Level one, as I told you, actively scan the environment. Pilots must monitor flight instruments, engine health, fuel, states, and weather and traffic in VFR. Flight prioritize looking outside the cockpit 80% of the time. Comprehend level two. Based on your perception, level two comes comprehend. What is the meaning? Integrate perceived data with mental knowledge to recognize what is happening. This means understanding how a sudden change in terrain would say impacts the helicopter's current energy state. Level three, think ahead. What will happen? Anticipate the future. Ask what if scenario to stay ahead of the aircraft rather than just reacting to emergency as they happen. When you're approaching to land, runway, the visibility is down, you have to make a go around. What is the approach? Like that. Then workload management. Avoid task saturation and tunnel vision. Use modern advanced avionics system. Rely on checklist, communicate and delegate. The most important thing is 80% of the situation analysis come how you perceive based on your experience and your training. Then comprehend is meaning. Then project. This is the three things, 80, 17. This is called the situation analysis. A classic example of compromise, if you compromise the situation awareness in a helicopter environment, this will happen. Helicopter flying under visual flight rules towards the valley. The pilot becomes fixated on an engine gauge or a minor radio glitch, failing to notice the fog rolling into the pass ahead. Loss of comprehension. When the helicopter enters the fog, the pilot suffers from sudden spatial disorientation because they did not mentally prepare for weather deterioration. This projection, without projection, the pilot immediately executes a 180 turn and climb while they still have room. They press on regardless, resulting in a spatial loss of control into the vehicle. Therefore, if you do not have proper good situational awareness, it can lead to an incident or an accident. Next one is aircraft serviceability. These are the maintenance people. Helicopter safety directly depends on aircraft serviceability, as even minor unaddressed mechanical wear can lead to catastrophic in-flight failures. Achieving perfect serviceability requires strict adherence to airworthiness directives and zero tolerance monitoring of dynamic components. Impact of serviceability is structural and dynamic integrity. Unlike fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters experience extreme vibration, unserviceable dampness, and rotor imbalance can cause rapid fatigue failure. Components can fail rapidly. Then drivetrain reliability, main gearboxes and tail rotor transmissions operate under high torque. A single unserviceable bearing can result in complete loss of control. Infant mortality is statistically helicopters show a short clustering of accidents right after the in-flight mortality, nothing but a tested component, a new component is fixed, but it is likely to fail immediately after takeoff because of installation problem or manufacturer's defect. Therefore, infant mortality is one of the things. Even though you are fitted, it can happen immediately after takeoff. Your system can fail. That is called that you need to address. Core parameters for 100% aircraft serviceability is chip detectors and oil analysis and vibration and health monitoring. Use the system effectively. Then stick advisory directives and service bulletin compliance and task verification and duplicate inspections. Very, very important to ensure aircraft serviceability. Ensure maintenance excellence and tool control and configuration management. That means whatever tool you have fitted, it should be to the OEM software. The equipment should match. That is called the configuration management. Here, the concrete real example. Consider the standard tail rotor drive shaft bearing inspection on a commercial helicopter. If the chip detector registers a metallic debris, the aircraft immediately drops to zero service. The action: the operator grounds the helicopter and replace the bearing before the shaft seizes. Outcome: by preventing a catastrophic loss of tail rotor, strict adherence to the single serviceability parameter directly preserves airworthiness and flight safety. The fatigue management, I can easily talk about fatigue. Fatigue management is a vital system. Key parameter according to IFAO, there are two things. Follow the FDTL regulations given by the regulatory authority and the company. And most importantly, now they have introduced fatigue risk management. You will be able to, by biomathematical models, you will be able to work out the stress depending upon the individual stress period or the operating period, so that you will be able to manage stress. FRMS is one of the tools to manage fatigue. Emergency preparedness, this is very important. Emergency response preparedness is the final decisive line of defense for helicopter safety. When helicopter forces are landing or crashes, survival depends entirely on the skill, specialized training, and structural equipment designed to manage immediate aftermath. Key area of emergency that I have already told you: crew and passenger survival training. Helicopter underwater egress training is mandatory for offshore operations like oil and gas crews that uses a simulated cockpit dropped into the pool. It builds muscle memory to help individuals stay calm, locate emergency exits with blackout goggles, and escape a cabin that was flipped upside down underwater. Then brace position and posting at teaching the passengers to tuck their bodies tightly to minimize flying and traumatic spinal injury. Third one, advanced tracking and such SCR infrastructure, automatically deployable emergency locator transmitters and interagency drill coordination. These are all important things for preparing for an emergency. Then airframe trustworthiness built-in system, emergency protection system, and crash resistant fuel system. This will all help you to face the emergency in an effective manner. This is one of the examples where a powerful example of an emergency preparedness: severe mechanical failure in the Airbus S-25 Super Puma helicopter. The helicopter suffered an unexpected catastrophic gearbox problem while flying in freezing temperatures, heavy sweat, and low visibility. Realizing the total loss of rotor control, the flight crew executed an emergency control ditching directly into the open ocean. Despite the violent impact and freezing, all passengers and crew survived due to rigorous emergency preparedness. Automatic flotation locates the helicopter's automatic emergency flotation bags deployed perfectly upon contact with the water, keeping the airframe upright and buoyant just long enough for the order. Flawless crew coordination, crew execution, because the passengers and the crew had undergone the extensive rescue and survival training. Rapid SCR response: if the airframe had lacked the emergency floats, or if the passengers had lacked it, this could not have been possible. Teamwork and communication. Communication is very vital, and it's not a single man's job, it's a teamwork. Significance: error traffic, you will be able to reactively, you will get more inputs, you will be actively able to detect mistakes. Then workflow distribution, so that your fatigueness is also reduced. You can delegate. Efficient task delegation enables pilot flying and pilot monitoring to handle radio navigation. Lastly, flattening. Authority gradient you should not have. The communication will break down because pilot is the commander, co-pilot, or junior and senior. That hierarchy should not be there when you're operating the flight or maintaining the aeroplane. Whichever input, you both must agree, discuss, and agree. The flattering authority gradient will always be not good. One team, one mission. One example I've just given, two pilots. Standard works save lives, eyes out and mouth open. Threat, low altitude leaves zero room for silent assumptions. Use closed loop communication for every phase of the flight. That means once you communicated, somebody should acknowledge it back. That is called the loop, closed loop communication. Speak up instantly. A junior proves silence is a senior pilot's blind spot. Remember that. Allow the juniors to express. Air traffic control, every second, every word counts. Clear data. Dynamic low-level airspaces change in seconds. Driver proactive. Deliver proactive updates, precise weather data. Keep instructions short. Protect the crew from chatter. Maintenance crew, safe flight begins on the hangar floor. No shortcuts, no assumptions. Mechanical failures have no room to glide to safety. Conduct airtight fifth handover and cross-check the manual together if it is undocumented. Load and trim sheet weather, very, very important. Precision on paper, balance in the air. The threat, incorrect weights and shifting loads destroy helicopter shape. Verify center of gravity calculation, limits with absolute. Then secure every cargo tie down, never just revive when see something is wrong. That's the way you will be able to communicate time. Golden rule is forever. If you see something variant, speak up immediately, acknowledge every message, verify every detail. Coming back to the last one, during a challenging maritime winds issue, the pilot has limited visibility of the voice table. The operation relies heavily on the crewman, acting as pilot's eyes via precise standardized radio calls. Teamwork, the pilot maintains a steady hover reference while the crewman actively directs the helicopter's position over the target and manages the host line. The communication with the crewman gives exact non-ambiguous directional commands. Come right, 2 meters, hold steady, down 6 feet, followed by continuation with rescue swimmer and safety in deck. The safety impact, the crewman spots an unexpected wave or assertive call out prompts an immediate abort, preventing the rotor blade pulse cable from striking the water. Last one is year-round vigilance. Year-round vigilance means maintaining continuous safety awareness. Total vigilance by all aviation stakeholders, ground crew, pilots, ATC, everybody. Why total vigilance matters? Because it's a shared responsibility. Safety is not solely the pilot's burden. Ground crew must secure perimeters and passengers must read briefings. Seasonal adaptation, it prevents operational oversights such as failing to adjust for winter schedule, summer monsoon, or low. Regulatory compliance, ongoing oversight ensures continuous adherence to safety norms. A general criteria for categorized participants, situational awareness and observation, maintain continuous scan, question the normal, monitor the external threats, track
मेरा नाम दिख रहा है ना
whether you take
हाँ
up
उसमें
or the next one,
176
communication.
हाँ
Enforce psychological safety. Create an environment where the junior people also can speak to you without any kind of fear. Practice flat hierarchy. There is no hierarchy when you are working in aviation. There is a safety related jobs. Report minor deviation documented. Use closed loop communication.
Thank you.
Repeat back critical instructions.
हाँ?
Operation discipline follows structured. Stop on ambiguity. Ambiguity is
Hello.
limited. Clarify. Conduct regular briefing. Training for emergency. 16. I'm little fast because I have just 10 minutes. We have one of the distinguished participants, Captain Jitendra, who has got a 63 years of helicopter flying. After my presentation, he will be addressing about 5 to 10 minutes about that. I will just close in the under about 5 minutes. Safety has no season. Safety has no destination. It is a continuous journey. Orchid example is consider a pilgrimage mountain operation such as Chardham. Vigilance requires continuous attention from all parties. The ground crew strictly manages access control and passenger movement to prevent individuals from wandering on training letters. Starts using specific behavioral tools, establish hard minimums, set unalterable personal and legal, that is called professional. Set to the minimum. The two inbound rule always have at least two viable alternative outputs selected and cleared for making diversion feel like a pre-planned flight rather than a failure. Then objective risk assessment and say no to passenger pressure. Dangerous, just one more attempt. We are almost there. Everyone expects it. No destination. Sit. This is the way you can assess.
ये जो
No
डिसीजन है
destination.
वही ले
Life
सकता
is
है जो
fundamental to philosophy.
मतलब
Problem to trusting in
शिक्षण
standardized very
शॉक
and
करती है
strict
आप
procedures. Special measures for pilgrim operations, slot management, limiting the number of movements per hour, centralized flight following, dedicated bed unit, balancing the duty periods, mountain flying reference training. These are all the recommendations. Take home message: the greatest threat to safety performance is neither weather,
कैसे
terrain, or technology. It is complacency. Complacency it kills, but disciplining the professional ensures everyone goes home
हाँ
safe.
ये
Philosophy teaches
मैन्युफैक्चर
us
है
that accidents often occur when experience gives birth to overconfidence.
उसमें
When routine replaces vigilance,
मतलब फीचर है
when schedule pressure begins to overpower sound judgment. We must
अच्छा
never normalize deviation. We must empower every individual, from newest technician to the most experienced pilot, to speak up without fear. Your,
विद
your
लोगो
safety culture is one where concerns are welcome, not suppressed. Where learning replaces blame, where professionalism triumphs over pressure. As we move forward into the
action is not taken by them. I'm so sorry to for everyone
इसके
sitting
हमको
here. I'll
इमरजेंसी
just take
पड़ेगी 500
not more than 5 minutes,
ठीक है
but I'm apologizing because I'm trying to bring the
आप
truth in front of everyone rather than only talking about
क्या होगा
what is good.
अरे
The
चलो
first thing which I'm
डिसकंटिन्यू
talking about
दोबारा
is
चाहिए
sir
अगर
brought
तो
out
कब मिलेगा
everybody you know about poor
चलो बात करो
visibility.
ना मेरे
We all know in Chardham Yatra
बात
what
करो तो बात
happens. But the administration wants us to carry out yatra, but they don't want to take action on the forest fires which happen.
अभी डिसकंटिन्यू
And I remember the comment of one of the FATA pilots with us flying in Chardham Yatra. He said, "Oh my God, we have stopped flying in VFR. We are flying in IFR."
उसमें लिखा है
So that is the condition which happens during forest fire, which is human. It's not natural. It's not nature who's giving it to us. It's human. So we don't take any action. The administration doesn't want to take any action. So second, most important point which I want to cover here is that 5 accidents happened last year. Most of us know AVM sir has already covered that in his magazine, and probably everybody knows about those accidents. We know why they happened, but the actions which were taken after that were not reciprocating to cover those problems which came out during those accidents. But the actions which came out restricted the flying. So that's famous Kahavat, sir, that the ships are very much safe on the shore. So if you want to keep them safe, please keep them on the shore only. That is exactly what the regulator is doing with the helicopters. We no longer fly helicopters in that valley, sir. We are not flying helicopters, we are flying fixed wings. We are flying aircrafts. We have been given those routes to fly, which are highly impractical. 5 points they are flying. We are have to fly over each other to cross those valleys. Complete complete system which has been followed for 16 years in that valley has been done away with. And now the regulator wants basically that if you fly 100 hours, you fly 25 hours only. Obviously, that number of accidents will go less. Sir's procedure of reducing the accident was the enhanced flight safety, get the accident 50% less. But then the regulator, what he wants ki flying hi kam kar do. If there is less number of flights, less number of accidents, so we will achieve those aims. So this is what I'll summarize before I leave is that we need to be practical, allow the helicopter industry to grow. It's a shame for all Indians that we are just living with 240 to 50 helicopters. One market which was showing some good colors have been now told to get restricted. A large number of helicopters which were likely to be inducted have been cancelled. We must reach out to the regulator, we must reach out to the ministry and tell them, show them what the truth is, how flight safety can be enhanced, and allow helicopters to fly as helicopters. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Anybody wants some questions? We can take it up because the Air Marshal is also here. He is one of the most senior most RWSI president, and now he is emeritus. He can say about two, three sentences, and then we can take up some questions from any audience wants.
Yeah, actually,
Thank you. Thank you, Ganapathy. I deeply grateful to this invitation by senior society members of the Aeronautical Society. And I would also say it's a appropriate time to set up this event to be able to bring some start facts into the people's mind. Since it's my privilege given for a few minutes, I've tried to condense my views in few minutes. Before I do that, I thought it would be appropriate for me to share my background. It's 63 years in helicopters. Started my flying in January 63. Flown over 35 years, various types across the world and various terrain. And then had the privilege of being a founder of Rotary Wing Society of India. Earlier, I was Secretary General of Aeronautical Society of India during 1991. So I had the unique privilege of joining the International Helicopter Safety Team as the co-chair for International Safety Team for Asia. Why I'm putting all this is I want to see Ganapathy's presentation was very, very, very exhaustive. I mean, he covered A to Z of the helicopter safety. But I would like to focus, having gone through that experience, having learned lessons across the world, attending seminars, conducting seminars, my viewpoint is as follows. Across the world, accidents take place for no new reasons. Please remember this. This is the sentence, is the bottom line. Unfortunately, if you take into account Indian history, if you take the legacy of safety in Indian safety performance of civil helicopters in India, so many times accidents have taken place, and the government is very concerned, and they appointed committees to bring out their recommendations. And unfortunately, these recommendations are not continued. That is one point. I'm glad today that the Deputy Director Safety DGCA is here, Wagner is there. I would like to just share with him some important information related to the focus on safety. Basically, what I want to tell him is way back on two occasions on serious accidents took place. As a result, in way back in 2011, you can imagine the Parliamentary Standing Committee for Aviation, led by Sitaram Yechuri, was designated by the Parliament to carry out a detailed analysis of helicopter accidents and status of helicopter flying in the country. They brought to the Parliamentary Standing Committee a report of 199 2012. Anybody can reach out very detailed analysis. what it brought out was they uh, they involved me in it, and finally their recommendations um, were approved by both the houses of the parliament, and whip was issued to the Ministry of Civil Aviation to include a safety circular which profiled that be covered land and live doctrine. In fact, as outlined in the media today, this doctrine has been promulgated internationally by HAI, but the genesis of it is 2011 Parliamentary Standing Committee, because that is the time, way back in 2012, the DGCA issued a safety circular insisting on pilots if they fly and feel unsafe not to continue flight, decide to land in a safe place and save the aircraft, we won't ask you any questions. So, in my opinion, among all the, it's a very vast subject which is covered by Ganapathy. I would like to just focus on this one aspect. I would urge the Deputy Director Safety to take note of this. That no doubt the CFIT has made a big impact, and land and live doctrine has made a big impact across the world. But it's also, apart from the stakeholders, operators, it's also very essential. The regulator and their staff members adapt this and ensure a safety ambience in the country. There is still to be a lot to be achieved in this regard. My friend Jitu, who spoke to me, who spoke about it a little earlier, uh, probably would recall how many times when people are told, they are still, the fear is hanging on them that when they encounter a situation, they don't want to follow the land and live doctrine. So, one single point suggestion from me is not only to the stakeholders, primarily intended for the regulator, kindly create suitable ambience, get to understand this land and live doctrine, we will be able to improve safety factor many fold. That's my conclusion. Even today, when you talk about accidents, the single most important reason accidents take place is CFIT, controlled flight certificate. We have written, a lot of books are there, a lot of reports are there. Anybody can ask RWSI, we'll be able to share with them. Thank you. Thank you very much for all the participants as well as the organizers for giving me an opportunity to talk.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. I too agree with Captain Jitender, what he said. Exactly, reducing the sortie of the helicopter doesn't mean that we are reducing the safety. Ultimately, what the safety concern, the affecting safety, what Ganapathy sir has highlighted the 16 factors. So we must consider that factors to reduce the to increase the safety in helicopter, not reducing the helicopter sorties and availing the safety. I totally agree with this. And definitely, as an Air Institute of India, we are going to take up the points what Ganapathy sir has highlighted today. And if any more questions it is there, definitely we will look up and take up to the regulatory body also. So as our role is there for the ASI to take up such ideas and put forward to the headquarters also and to the regulatory body also. Definitely such kind of will be increasing the level of safety in everywhere in aviation. We have to, as the Indian aviation is growing, so we safety is the prime concern. So as an organization of the Indian aviation, we all too must live together and work for the safety. What the highlighted
Any questions are there from any audience?
Yes, sir. Any questions? They can ask any some questions or they can share.
William is there, Captain
Yeah.
Jitender is there.
So I have one question.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
So we spoke about offshore flying hazard.
A little louder, please.
So I have one question. The presentation was a very knowledgeable, which you have given, sir. My question is, sir, that we have spoke about offshore flying hazards, where we have touch upon the sea state. So I am from Pawanaks, HOD Flight Safety. My question is, sir, which type of hazards and the risk mitigation which we expect in the sea state because we have got a lot of flying in Lakshadweep Islands, and the monsoon is also approaching. So can we identify some hazards and the risk mitigation which can enhance our safety during the monsoon?
Sir, I'm not able to hear properly. It is not properly audible. Anybody can explain the question?
Sir, hazard identification is the data which is historical data can be obtained from the DGCA. Get the information of the hazard log from the DGCA. What are the past experiences of the hazard in in your area? And this is the little bit lack is there that sharing of the hazard log of the operators is not been done as it is required, because when you has identify the hazard you share and with all operators so that they are aware as you want to know about these hazards. So this is the area which is very weak. AGCA can coordinate, or the operator themselves should have a regular meetings where they can share these data and their experiences and the mitigation which is more suitable, and everybody gets benefited and the safety standard can be increased. Thank you.
Suresh, thank you. It's a very good suggestion. I was also planning. Jose, you want to say something?
Yeah, that basically the operating environment is totally different between the fixed wing aircraft and the helicopters, because helicopters are prone to, humidity, the salt take, then corrosion and dust, etc., etc. So that's a major threat in helicopter operations. So the maintenance has to be, I feel, much more stringent as far as the helicopters are concerned, because they are maybe washing and we used to do the compressor washing on board the aircraft carrier for all the aircraft, because of the salt intake. I mean, salt vapor intake. So the corrosion is to be much more than aircraft operating over the land. So that is one area where we neglect the operating environment as far as the helicopters are concerned, because the salty water, then dust, or as Captain Jitendra mentioned about the storm and the smoke. I mean, so we are close. We are operating close to the land. That's or sea. So that adds to the facade and threats. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
So one more area I would like to ask, one more question I would like to ask is the passenger briefing arrangements at the remote helipads. This is a big challenge we find in our helicopter safety. Passenger briefing at the arrangement at the remote helipad, as our helicopter operation is basically conducted at remote helipads. What are the probable solutions which we can find as collectively for a passenger briefing? It's a big challenge which we observe.
Just like cabin crew, they can have some to brief the passenger safety.
Majority of the passengers do not listen to the safety briefing at all, even in the flight. Everybody is reading coffee, tea, coffee. When the real emergency takes place, they only realize the importance of the cabin crew briefing. Therefore, we need to address whatever points you have given. I will try to get the answers from the industry specialists, and we will circulate it to you also, all the districts.
The point is very good, sir.
And one of the good suggestions somebody made was the sharing of the hazard, very useful one to see how what we have been successful in that. The data is very important for the risk assessment. And some organizations may not have received the hazard, therefore they may not be able to accurately calculate the risk matrix. Therefore, sharing the hazard is a good thing, but we do not know how to build the catch. Whether we have, as I said, we can have in all helicopter organizations meeting DGC to open meeting so that they can share the safety information with all. That could be possible. Anybody else?
Anyone else want to ask some questions? As we are winding up the session, we already